Okay, on to cognitive psychology. So there's been a ton of research on chess players and sports like rugby and football, all of that. Sports psychology is a huge field. And let's talk about some of the things they've learned from them and how you can apply it. So my next tip for you is to play as much as you can. So the reason why you're going to do this is if you want to get better, you have to become basically an expert. So they usually talk about the 10,000 hour mark for expertise. And even if there's some debate about that, or even if you don't get to that amount of playing League or whatever you're trying to do, just do as much as you can. Now, it doesn't mean just spam games and do it lazily. You still have to record your games, look at them, see what you do wrong, actually critically think about what you're doing. But if you're doing that and as much as you can, you're gonna get better much faster. And you really do have to do anything in life that you're trying to do a lot to get better. Let me explain one of the reasons why that's the case. Okay, so if you present a chess scenario like this one to novice chess players and expert chess players, they'll be able to tell you very quickly what the outcome is going to be, which side's going to win. Same thing in sports. They did that with rugby players. They had up on a screen, here's where you are, here's where the ball is, what's the right play, and always the experts were faster and more accurate at picking it out. It's the same kind of thing in League. If you're in a team fight and it's gone on for a second or two, you're seeing where everybody is, what's been used, the more you've played, are going to know where to be and what to do and exactly how to make that turn around in your favor. So it's an idea called automation. The more hours you have in something, the more automatic it is, and that frees up your mind, your working memory, to focus on other things that you need to focus on. So you got to automate it as much as possible. Now, in terms of your working memory, you have to remember that there's limits. Usually people talk about the magic number 7. You can, remember 7 things plus or minus 2. And it's the same kind of thing here. You can only, with a visual task, pay attention to so many things at once. And with League, there's a ton of things to pay attention to. You're talking about cooldowns, health bars, mana pools, summoners, globals, who's ahead in items, minimap, all that kind of thing. So it is a divided attention task. When you're in lane, for example, you have to pay attention to CSing, you have to pay attention to trading, you have to be watching the minimap for the jungler, you have to be keeping track of your sports mana, all that kind of thing. And the more you play, the more you can expose yourself to it, the more automated it'll be, and the more you'll do it. The pros always talk about how their eyes will flick to the minimap, every 5 seconds. That's a habit they've developed. And yeah, I think the higher you get, the more you look at the minimap, and you just get better at that. So yeah, I guess to sum up that tip, basically play as much as you can. And further, to expand on how to automate things, my next tip is really be a one-trick pony. Maybe 2-trick, maybe 3-trick, but play as few champions as you can to succeed. And the reason, once again, is expertise and automation. The more solid you are, the more you've played that champion into every matchup possible, the better you're going to be. And if you spread yourself across a bunch of roles, autofill, new champion this game, new champion that game, in some ways it can help a little, but if climbing is your goal, it's better to do it the other way. Now you do need to play and understand all the champions, but you can do that in normals, you can do it in ARAM, and get that kind of in-depth understanding. You don't have to play that champion in ranked. Alright, so the next tip in terms of cognitive psych is just going to be learn as much as you can about the nuances of the game. So basically you just want to develop your neural networks to the highest extent you can about how the game works. So, every game you might learn something new. It might have been a while ago that I learned that if I sweep the bush, you can let the ADC get the ward because then you both get gold. Or, for example, I was watching a friend play middle a while ago, and he was trying to run from a fed Diana, and instead of flashing the Q, he got ulted on, and then, got the whole combo, and then tried to flash, but she has her second charge of the ult since she landed the Q, and so he still got killed. It's there's tons of champions, there's tons of items, they all interact. You have to know what walls you can flash over, what walls you can't, how it all goes together, where people's power spikes are. Some of them have them early, some fall off hardcore later on, like Pantheon. So it takes time, and you do have to develop game knowledge. You have to know which of the 4 abilities a champion has are the ones that get reduced per rank in terms of cooldown. Because, if they're scaling that up, then that affects how you fight them. So the more game knowledge you can develop, the better. If you're bored waiting around, look at something on LoL Wiki, try to learn something. In between queues take forever in this game, so you might as well be watching better players, looking stuff up, learning. If anything ever happens you don't understand, go into training mode the next game and figure it out. Like if you're unfamiliar what Yorick does, you need to know the nuances of that. So go into training mode, play him versus bots, play him in norm, just like figure out what he does so you don't, die. Like if the Katarina still has her dash up, then, don't waste your flash because she's still going to get you, something like that. Okay, the next thing is thinking about the game in terms of a decision-making task. So where do you go and what do you do? And it's kind of hard. Most of the time we think about this game as kind of twitchy, kind of more similar to like a shooter than like chess. But in a lot of ways, the decision-making does really matter. Like your mechanics, sure, it helps to have good ones. Your action time, that's good. But your decision-making is really important. Who you attack, where you move to on the map early game, where you move to late game, what items you build. So don't undersell the value of decision-making. And specifically, I think your mindset should always be assume the worst. What's the worst thing that could happen in this situation? So to explain that, as much as we all hate him, let's take a page out of Littlefinger's book, because you have to admit, for someone who came from nothing, he played the Game of Thrones pretty well.
Fight every battle, everywhere, always. In your mind. Live that way, and nothing will surprise you. Everything that happens will be something that you've seen before.
Alright, so yeah, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, if you're going for dragon, you might hope that the jungler's not going to be on the other side of the dragon pit trying to steal it, and you might think he's not. But you can't, you have to assume that he is. You have to walk over, throw your ward over there, or sweep the bush, or, stand in such a way that the Jinx can't steal the dragon or the Baron with her ult. You have to always be thinking about what's going to go wrong and try to prevent it. So again, in terms of emotional management, it feels kind of bad to be thinking about what could go wrong. Like, it's not fun. But if you do it, that's going to be adaptive and you're going to win more games and climb rating. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much the final tip I have for you guys. Okay, so to summarize the 10 tips I gave you, let's start with the social psych tips. So one is, don't type anything at all. There's nothing negative to people, only something constructive or meaningful. Number 2, mute everyone. They're only going to tilt you or say something bad, and anything else they're probably going to ping it. 3 is watch and compare yourself to better players. Look them up, know who they are for your role, watch their games. 4, in terms of the emotional psych stuff, stop when you're tilted. Just don't keep doing rank, go do something else, watch something funny, and you'll thank yourself for it. 5 is continue to stay cool even when it comes to the positive emotions like excitement or happiness, because they can cause you to make missteps and die just as surely as frustration can. Number 6 is blame yourself. Even though it's hard and it feels bad, you have to have that internal locus of control. So rewatch your games, nitpick every little thing you can and try to learn from that. And yeah, you should improve. Let's see, 7. So we're into the cognitive psych stuff now. So play as much as you can. You want to develop that expertise. You want to automate everything about your play and your game and free up your working memory to pay attention to other things. And so in that vein, be a one-trick. Pick your role, pick your secondary role, play as few champions as you can that you're naturally good with and that have over 50% win rate. Go with that. Play them as much as you can. 9, learn as much about the game as humanly possible. Game knowledge is a thing. There's a ton to learn. I'm still learning. I'm sure even the pros are still learning. So just, eat, live, and whatever else as much as you can. And then 10 is assume the worst. Treat it like a chess match. If I go here, what's going to happen there? What's the worst that could happen here, and what can I do to prevent it? And if you assume the worst, you should have a clean control victory. Alright guys, thanks for sticking with me through that video. Let me know in the comments what your goals are for Season 8, what rank you want to get to, what champions you're going to play, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to check out other ones or come hang out on Twitch. I stream most nights of the week. And I'll probably make some videos coming up pretty soon about how to support specifically, so how to trade, when to ward, how to do team fights, all that kind of thing. Yeah, so good luck in this coming season. Starts in a few days. And alright, hope you had fun. Peace out.